Alright, welcome back. So we've created the head, torso, and legs. Now we're going to create the arms and fingers. So we're going to need to extrude out those arms. So again, our favorite tool, the extrusion tool. I'm tumbling here, and I'm going to select where the base of the arm is, his shoulder. This is where we're going to extrude from. You want to make sure you're in the extrusion tool by going to Edit Mesh, Extrude. Make sure your settings are relatively standard with 1 division and 30 as your smoothing angle. I'm going to hit Extrude. Now it's going to extrude at the angle of this face. And that is okay. We are going to fix that because we're going to have to move it and scale it anyway. So what I'm going to do is scale, well, let's go ahead and move it first so we can see what we're doing. I'm hitting R on the keyboard. Oops, I'm sorry. W to move first. Move it first. And I'm going to make sure I'm in front view. That way I'm getting a appropriately lined up arm. There we go, nice and straight. And now I'm going to scale this guy, R. And I'm going to scale from the center. And maybe we'll move him up again. So I'm just trying to match the drawing. And maybe scale a little bit more. And move a little bit. And there we go. So let's see what we have. Alright. So now we're going to extrude the hand out of the base of the arm. The extrude tool is already activated. So we're going to get the palm going into front view here. So I'm going to hit G to extrude again. And here we go. We're at an angle again. So we're going to have to fix that. So let's look at what's going on. This face is angled up, so it's going to naturally want to extrude up. To extrude sideways, we're going to have to move the edge at the bottom in order to line it up straight so that it'll extrude straight. So I'm going to click away, and let's navigate back to this area. I'm going to right click and choose Edge Mode. You'll see that now my edges are highlighting. I'm going to choose the bottom edge and go into side view here. And grab the Move tool, W, and I'm going to zoom in. I'm using the scroll wheel and line that guy up. Now, what is the trouble that we're running into here? The problem that just occurred is that I extruded but failed to move that geometry. When you extrude and fail to move the geometry, it makes a duplicate exactly on top of what you're extruding from. That's a problem because it gives you duplicate geometry that then will not only hurt your modeling, but will potentially damage your animation. So what we're going to do is we're going to back up. So I'm going to hold Command Z down until I go all the way back, and I don't want to extrude. So I'm going to go back to here, and I'm going to make sure that I do not have an extra extrusion. I can check by scaling that face. So if I scale, I'm just working with that face, so we're good to go. So I'm going to go back, move and scale. Zoom out a little bit. Okay. And let me just bring it out just a little bit. And maybe scale it a little bit more and move it just a little bit. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to tackle that edge. So I've gone past that extrusion. I removed that extra extrusion, that extra piece of geometry that we created, and I'm right back where I was. So let's go back into edge mode. Select that edge, and we're just simply going to move that edge back to where it needs to be. And this time, because we didn't have that extrusion, it'll look just fine. So there you go, nice and clean. So now let's extrude the rest of the wrist out. So I'm going to make sure I have that face selected. Ooh, there we go. So I'm going to select, go back into face mode, select it. And if I hit G, that should bring up the extrusion tool again. And I'm going to just extrude here and give myself a little bit of a wrist. I'm also going to pull down a little bit. Let's see. And I'm going to want to angle it down just a tad. But let me go ahead and give another extrusion, and we'll alter those edges in a second. So let's go ahead and do those two out. I'm going to want to reposition some of these edges to match the model a little bit better. So I'm going to get the Move tool, W. I'm going to want to do this first part, the selection part, within the perspective view just to double check. I'm going to marquee select. I'm going to need to be in edge mode and too many edges. So you want to make sure that you're only getting the edges that you want to move. So I'm going to shift select here. Selecting is really the thing that takes the longest. Clicking on the thing you want takes a lot of practice. Alright, so I've gotten all the way around, so I'm going to go ahead and shift this just a little bit more that way. Alright, looks good, and I'm going to come in here and grab this. No, it still looks, that looks fine. So we just need to move that bottom edge here down to match the sort of meat of the palm there. So I'm going to take that and go back into front view and move it down a little bit. I'm going to want to move the other one down a little bit. Now you could move this and then extrude. It's up to you. The book extrudes, then moves, then extrudes. But it doesn't really matter. You're going to have to adjust no matter what you do. If you wanted this to be perfectly boxy, it would be ideal, I guess, to extrude it second. But alright, there we go. Alright, so we're getting there. Got some hand action. Well, wrist, I guess. We haven't gotten to the fingers and the full hand yet. Just double checking and making sure that this is in fact straight. It's giving me, just checking it. Looks a little, this one, just make sure we're perfectly straight. Alright. Alright, so now we're gonna make the fingers. We're gonna have to extrude from the side here to make the fingers, because we only have one box and we're gonna have more than one finger, right? We're gonna have, let's see how many this guy has. I think he has 3 fingers and a thumb. So let's go in here. We're gonna select this face. You have to be in face mode, right? Click on the object and select face. Let's go ahead and extrude out the base of the hand here, sort of in preparation for the fingers. Click away, click back. Alright, so we got the meat of the hand. We're going to make 3 different groupings, and the very last grouping is going to be the actual fingers. So the reason we're doing that is to create bend points within the hand, because your fingers aren't the only thing that move in your hand. You can kind of curl your hand, and so you want to add that extra geometry in order to mimic that. So gonna have to extrude from the side, extrude from the other side, and then make 2 chunks, and then work on the fingers from there. And I think the best way to do it here is going to be from the side. So I'm going to hit G to bring up the extrusion tool again, and I'm going to go ahead and extrude. I want it to be approximately the same size. Alright, and then I'm going to grab my other side, go back in here, and hit G for extrusion. And approximately the same size. Alright, now we're going to want to extrude all 3 faces. So G to extrude. So we're going to make 1 bigger block, and then G again, small one. And then what we want to do is we want to turn off the keep faces together. Right now we have keep faces together. We don't want to keep the faces together because we want the fingers to act as separate units. So I'm going to turn off keep faces together and get out of the extrusion tool and go ahead and select those faces again and go back into extrude. And we're going to extrude those fingers out. Alright, So now we have 3 fingers, but they're not really looking like fingers. They are just blocks stuck together. So let's look at how to fix that. So in theory, these should be separate pieces. I'm going to get my selection tool, Q, and shift select. And I'm going to scale them down. Now, people were having this trouble where it would scale together, and even though your keep faces together is off. That's pretty irritating, but we can scale them one at a time. We can go scale and move it back over, and scale and move. So select, scale, and move if we need to. I don't really need to move that one. That one looks fine. And then I'm going to select and scale. Oops, let's not move. And there we go. All right, so there we go. We've got some fingers. Pretty mighty hand there. Let's just double check and make sure it's working here. And then we're going to need to create the thumb. I'm going to extrude the thumb out from the side. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just extrude and scale. So I'm going to take this right here. Oop, there we go. And this will become our thumb. I'm going to hit G. Oops, take that back. I'm going to go ahead and go back to extrude, because apparently that wasn't our last tool. I'm going to go ahead and instead of, it's created that new geometry, but I'm not going to move it. I'm just going to go ahead and scale it just down a little bit. And from that point, I'm going to extrude again, G, and pull it out on the side of my model here. And then I can scale it a little bit. And there we go. Got a beautiful looking hand. And we may need to change some of the proportions depending on how our character model looks. We can always move stuff around. Ooh, let me make sure we're in the front view here. Ooh, house. The house will always take you home. And I've managed to make these views the same. So I will reset that for next time. But you should have at this point a head, torso, legs, and an arm. Next tutorial, we're going to split our model up, and then we're going to refine it and add edge loops and get it looking more a little bit more like a guy.